Hey y'all, it's Jenni Moseley.
And Dr. Ryan Reeves.
And we are here live with the Elevate Effect. It's time to take the dental field to a whole nother level. Fly with me, folks. Let's get real and let's get uncomfortable. So, 1, identify the negative paradigm. 2, make a new statement to change it into a positive so that you start to believe the positive statement. 3, then it becomes a new belief by you writing down the old ones next to this new one, showing people this is the language we're going to say instead of this old language. Now it becomes your mind at work. Once you believe it, you will start to do it. Create the visual. Number 4, see, hear, and feel. What are people going to see, hear, and feel at the end of this beautiful paradigm shift? Because when they push through, they need to know, just push, because at the end there is just a rainbow. And then the 5th one is repeat affirmations to each other. I can. I mean, we go all the way to the last day of the month. And, I think last month, because we stay in this type of process, we do not give up all the way until the end. And I'm sure you guys have had these too, but you can have days that do your entire goal in one day if you create this type of mindset.
So what happens when you are trying to do this, and let's just say your measuring stick is the numbers, your collections, your collection numbers. And so you've got a goal and you've worked backwards from your yearly goal to your quarterly goal, monthly goal, etc. Yes. Right. So, and let's just say, you're like, you've been at this 6 months, really tracking everything. And let's just say it was you're having some traction, some progress. You were seeing some results. And then you started getting pushback from patients, or just things weren't as easy. You weren't necessarily as enthusiastic about it. So things are just kind of waning. You're starting to, you don't realize it, but you're starting to fall back on old habits, even though you don't think you are, but you definitely are, because that's what happens. And then you're seeing these numbers, and then you start getting frustrated and depressed. And then how do you kind of dig yourself out of that hole of that and get back on the right path? Because that's where, it gets to the point where you're just, you get a couple months in a row that aren't what they should be. You don't realize you're letting old habits slip in. And then you're thinking, well, no, this is not a shift. It's not going to work here. It doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for our town, our city, or whatever.
Blah, blah.
Right.
Well, that brings up a good question. I think this may sound like it's a system that is done on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis. It's not. It's when you decide to change something to you that, like I said, many people are listening to try to have somewhat of a model close to what we have. And so a lot of decisions you have to make, you've got to make changes. So this is the system you go through when you want to make the shift and make it last to get the greatness out of it. This is a system that you have to go through to make that happen. So, for example, numbers, if you know you're going to make changes, then you've got to navigate your numbers to do so. It could be that you are not defining your goals correctly around the shifts that need to be made. So that's one. Make sure that you are. We could go into that. Let's write that down. Because here's the thing. I'm big into financials and being efficient. The number at the end is beautiful, but that's not really, to me, what makes people great. What makes you great is that percentage of, are you actually efficient? Are you an efficient business, from staff costs to supply costs to, doctors, and is the building profitable? All those things to me make you a little bit more, worth than just, okay, we hit a number. Oh yeah, let me see your bank statement. That to me is more impressive. So maybe what you're doing is if you want to take this road and kind of do more of a custom practice, a lot of people have too many employees. They're trying to see too many patients. So if you start seeing yourself not hitting this certain goal number, and like Ryan said, you're going backwards, remember, identify the right problem. Is the problem, oh no, this system sucks? Because it doesn't. We've been proving it, and many people have. What may have been the problem is you defined your numbers wrong. Define your numbers, correctly to what you think you can actually do. And you may see that you're spending too much money somewhere else. I mean, there's just so much to look at. Does that help? Or keep going?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess the audience has got to tell us that.
Tell us, y'all.
I think it's great. I mean,
That's
that's what happens, right? I mean, is you just, because we want it, well, we think we want it, but I think what we don't realize is what it actually takes to get it. And I think then once we get a taste of what it takes, you're like, maybe I don't want this. And, and that's okay, right? I mean, it's better to find that out, early than late. But by the same token, a lot of people do really want it. They don't realize how hard it is to get, but they're willing to do the work, but they get kind of deflated and defeated.
Well, you just said something. Way to go. Way to say something makes me think.
I'm here to support you.
I mean, once in a blue moon. So, you said the word hard, right? And that's why I think Ryan and I are able to kind of do this thing together, because isn't what you're doing hard? What is hard, right? So these changes are hard, I think, because like it's you're in your own paradigm. You're like, I went to school, I learned it. This is my habitual way. I get up, I get to show up, I got patience, I do this, I pay bills. I think the hard part is the shift, is saying I want to do something different. And it's these steps to get there. And that's what you're saying is hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me give an example. I don't have to talk. Oh, let me give an example. Okay. So, let's say you decide you want to try to do something like this, and one small thing is this filling the hole. I think what Ryan is saying is you're finding that possibly you don't get the sales or the numbers and the goals as high as quick. Is that what you're trying to say? And so all of a sudden they're like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've already just stated that possibly the goals were too high, or you're spending too much money elsewhere. You have to do more of a business analysis to decide that.
Or they're not really doing the systems.
Or they're not doing these steps. And they never even knew these steps. So I would try these because I think it will help. But then I would truly just sit down and look at everything together and recognize you can't do it in part of the office. You can't have half of the people in and half out. You've got to have one vision. And if everybody is rowing with you, I think it shouldn't be a problem. I had a couple teams that happened for. And honestly, a lot of it had to do with fear and spending. That to me has been the norm of dealing with dental teams, is they are not understanding where their money's going. And also there's a fear, so they don't get past that. So let me go through these steps. Okay. 1, identify the negative paradigm. So we said filling a hole is an example, but you write them down for yourself. 2, identify a new statement to say. So again, remember, it's not a daily or weekly system. It's a system that happens when you decide to make a change. You have to identify the negative paradigm that you do. You got to make it a new statement. Instead of a hole, I'm going to create opportunity. Then you actually put the mind at work and you make it a new belief by writing down what you used to call these things next to this is opportunity, so people can see the new belief system in my practice will be this. This is how we're going to do it. And at the end of it, here's how you're going to feel. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a boss. You guys might get time off. all those things. And then constantly you tell everybody, I can, we can, we can do this together. You repeat affirmation all the time. I mean, constantly throughout the day, I've got my door is a revolving door, always coming in, and it's like deep breaths. I mean, I think that the way that I see just being in the dental office alone, I am constantly in this thing because the typical way to deal with dental people's problems is to react. And I tend to try not to do that as best as I can. So what I do right away is I go, okay, so what is it that you're freaking out about? Okay, well, someone's denture broke. Oh, okay, well, let's just talk about this for a second. Is that a bad thing? It's not fun.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
I know. But is it a bad thing that the denture broke? Really? I mean, and the employee will look at me, and now I'm allowing for her, like that's my subconscious, you know what I mean? Conscious, subconscious. Let's just say your conscious mind is to go, shoot, the dentures broke, and I turn it into, well, wait a second, why is that so bad? Okay, no one's dead, right? So you got to churn it into, okay, let's just say, well, wait a second, and you got to tell the employee, look, we got this. This is silly. I mean, our belief is that we do some pretty damn good dentistry. So something broke. I mean, we don't have breaking every day. This is not a normal thing. We know what we do. So really, just get your shit together and let's get a new belief system here and start. We got this. Because at the end, when you look at this woman and you make her feel good and you create for her a better result, she's going to hug you. She's going to be happy, and so and that's all the steps I go to every day. And it's like 50,000 times a day. It's that constant pushing people through the paradigm of their normal reactiveness to doing something different. Because at the end, we want to win. So then the sixth step is to develop faith. So it was really interesting. A belief is your mind at work, Reeves. This was cool learning. And your faith is your heart at work. And so they say that faith is when you're taking action. That's the trust. That's the thing that I think that most people get screwed up on. I think Reeves gets screwed up on this because highly analytical people focus more on the how, and that screws up the trust process. If you focus more on the what instead of the how, then you just push through the fear. Because truly, at the end of the day, if you're doing all of this and your belief is positive end results, why wouldn't it turn out? Sometimes your fear makes your end result a fearful end result. So I think sometimes Ryan skips a bunch of these and goes straight to not trusting because he's overanalyzing how he's going to do something. Instead of going, okay, wait a second, I got a negative thought in my head. Let me figure out, how do I make this positive? From that positivity, how do I get it out of my mouth to have a new belief that I'm going to turn this into something positive? And then I'm going to say, I can do this, and then go down and take action. All those steps, Ryan is too impatient to do. But imagine if you did. Because 9 times out of 10, folks, he freaks out and it never, ever turns out the way that he thinks it was. It always turns out beautiful. So we all have to deal with this bullshit for 90 minutes of the day for nothing to happen. Okay. Would you like to say anything? Because I'm sure there's a million dentists doing the same thing.
Oh, well, my gut is telling me to defend myself. But, I mean, it's definitely a battle for me, for sure. And
do you see how these steps could help you?
Absolutely. I guess I'm a little confused on the step 6 is focusing on what. I'm not sure I'm following that.
Okay, so develop faith, taking action. Faith is where the heart works, right?
Right.
So taking action, most people, this is where you have to trust that what you just went through, the system of what you went through, you have to trust that it's going to work. So what people in here, the people that don't get through the trusting process, are worried more of the how, and they overanalyze their way out, that they never develop the faith and the trust to walk through it. Let me give you an example.
Yeah, well, like let's can we work through the denture example?
Okay.
And, with yeah.
Okay. So, oh my God, I have a patient, the denture broke. I don't know what to do. And then you go, okay, wait a second. What's wrong with the denture breaking? I mean, is the world falling apart? No. Okay. So let's say, when was the last time they were here? 2 years ago. Okay. So we haven't been able to see them. What do they have on the other arch? You're walking through changing their belief system, right? Into seeing that there is opportunity here. Opportunity doesn't mean sales. Don't hear me. Opportunity means turning the paradigm of being reactive in dentistry to a positive experience. It could just mean that the patient leaves with nothing, but they're happy and they understand their problem. That's the goal. That's the new belief as to why people come to me more often in this practice, because truly that's what we turn it into. So then I say, okay, well, let's talk about this. What could we do to turn this around for the patient? If you're freaking out about the break, what's a new way to have your mind start to work I believe I can actually get this patient to think differently? Well, one is they haven't been here in a couple of years. Two is, the other, it's only one of their arches that broke. Is there something else deeper going on? Did we have a lot of systems in our practice. Did we talk to them about how they're sleeping? There's just a ton of things. Did we do a T-scan? Can we do a bunch of things that creates for the patient and you a visual that it's not just a shitty denture. It's a bigger thing. And so have the confidence in the belief system to know that. Don't go in right away with the negative paradigm like, oh crap, we suck. Take your time. And this comes back to where Ryan was saying earlier, at the other negative paradigm is filling holes. This person should have an amount of time with whoever's seeing them to walk through this, because they're going to walk in negative and they got to leave positive. Then you've created that. You go, okay, well, I'm going to do a T-scan. That's going to create how they feel and how they see that the teeth may not be working. I'm going to take a photo and see if the teeth have worn down. I'm going to explain and show them they've got two arches of their mouth one affecting the other, and they haven't been here in a couple of years. So maybe I could review with them again the commitment that we have in our arrangements with our patients. And now I've given them a see, hear, and feel belief that they can go in and they can do this with the patient. And then I go, you got this. Come on now, you got this. Then that's affirmation. Then you go down and you go, okay. And the last thing I usually say to this specific person, it happens all the time. No, is I say, okay, so now you got to go in there and do it. So now you got to actually what is your intention of what you want to achieve with this patient? I just want them to have a good experience. Do you trust that you can actually do that right now? Yeah, now I do. People that would take a dentist would take the denture and look at it and start going, I don't know how to fix this. This is cracked. That's what I'm talking about. The how is what screws people up. For example, or I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't have enough time. I need 90 minutes, but then in 60 minutes, I don't know how to have. It's like, just focus on the what. The what is, we want a patient to have a good experience. We want them to understand something, but we want them to see something different as to how they walked in. That's the what. Go. You asked for that. I just gave it to you.
That was great. I think that's extremely helpful to give an example like that and walk through it.
Now, the common denominator, I think, was the dentist. The dentist is typically going to think dental. So if he's the only person you have to go to and you don't have somebody that can do this in your dental practice, then you better call me. Just kidding. Oh, that was funny. No. Then you tell him to listen to this damn podcast and learn. Right, Reeves?
That's right.
The seventh and last step is getting out of your comfort zone. This is where you feel the fear, but you just got to do it anyway. We live uncomfortable. We talk about being uncomfortable. I mean, the beginning of this podcast goes, "Hey, folks, fly with me. Let's get real and uncomfortable." That is
You're getting
part
much
of it.
better at it.
What?
The intro is always tough.
It is always tough.
That is for us, or not for me. For me, it is. You're getting good at it.
Beginning and end are tough. We can jibber jabber all day long, but for some reason, when they say, "Okay, now can you say this?" It's like. Anyway, did you learn today, Reeves?
Absolutely.
So if I could just kind of throw it out there, I hope you all did really, 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 really listen to this over and over and over again. Look, they're all out there in the universe, and there's better people than me that actually teach this, and I am not pretending to be one of them. All I'm doing is I'm using very skilled, proven systems in the world over the last decades, and I'm just using it in a dental practice, which is not normal. So I can be one to feed off of, because I don't think that anything in the dental paradigm is what works for high profitable dental offices. Anyway, folks, I hope you learned. Give us some feedback. What do you have to say, Reeves?
I thought this was a really good one. I think, just you giving us dental people that applicable example and just relating something that is out there in the universe already. It's important and it's helpful, because I read this stuff too. I can't always apply it. You seem to always be able to apply it. So that was very helpful for me.
So as a dentist, if because some dentists don't have a position like mine. So let's say you were here by yourself. Okay, let's have a moment of silence for that. Whew.
I might have more hair on my head.
Okay, the hair would be there, but
I'm kidding. You're helping the hair too.
But truly, if what can, it's a lot of work to. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of the work that a lot of people don't want to do.
Yeah. And
so, you can find a person that maybe can learn this stuff for you. But, I just can't imagine what we would be like if we didn't push each other to do these shifts always.
Yeah. Having somebody to bounce ideas off of is very helpful. I think, though, if you just look at what you've gone over today, though, you take this, there's a lot of meat here to get through, right? And I think we all try and immerse ourselves when we're trying to learn something new. You immerse yourself in it, and it's very easy to get lost pretty quick, and then kind of throw up your hands and be like, all right, I love this in theory, but gosh, I can't kind of keep it all straight. I think just taking this podcast, for example, and what you've gone through with these 7 steps, and just, you could spend a year just doing this.
Well, think about, neuromuscular dentistry was a paradigm shift, right? So, that wasn't easy to do or even facilitate. We've all read his book and heard his story. And so I just feel like it starts to feel icky when I'm driving up to the building and I'm like, we have not done anything different for about 2 months, because I feel like those people that just want to keep using what worked before are going to lose. If you don't make a shift before, or enough, if you don't make enough of them, because you just feel like, ooh, things are good. Why would we want to do that? Because they're going to happen no matter what. So you either got to create it yourself, so you create your end result, or it creates for you and you typically lose. It's like, it's uncomfortable, but it's a constant, like, I'm thinking, okay, we're doing really well right now. I'm like, okay, that's kind of getting me scared a little bit. So what are we going to change? Thinking about our next photo shoot and all that kind of stuff. How are we going to do things differently? And it's like, gosh, can't you ever rest? Well, I don't want to lose. And so, remember, identify the negative. Let's just say we're in this paradigm right now that something's working. Don't look at the word negative as negative. It's just what's negative in your habitual way that you're doing it now that you see if you change would make you grow. That's all that means. So you can use any words you want, but sometimes when you use words that feel a certain way, you do something quicker. So identify it. If you're using a marketing campaign, if you've got a team that can't seem to stay in your office, whatever it is, something needs to change. It's not the team. It's not the marketing people. It's the vision of what you're doing behind it. So make a change. Turn it into a positive statement. For example, if we say something like, you know what, that round of commercials, I mean, it sent off this message. And we want this message. So now we say, I want to create this message in the next one. Now we've forgotten about what didn't work. We're now on to what was going to work. And then we create all those things. And the uncomfortable zone is, you got to just go. If it fails, it fails. If it wins, it wins. But if I don't try it and don't do it, then I'll never know. Why would you live in that? And it is time for us to make some changes. We're getting a little too complacent. You feel it?
I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for Jenni to be like, all right.
Lucky for you.
We got to scrap all this and start over.
Yeah. It's time. It just, I need it. But again, I think of you guys a lot while I'm just studying a bunch of stuff, and I drive into this practice and I think about a bunch of practices. And one of the things is that so many people see something that worked and then they try it and it doesn't work for them. So they say, this doesn't work. And you've got to really dig deeper than that. And so I really challenge you all, really, I hope this podcast can really get you to make some huge paradigm shifts. Because again, once you do that shift, I can't tell you how incredible it feels.
Well, so winners look to the finish line.
What's that?
I said winners look to the finish line. The losers are looking at the winners.
That is correct.
So, I think to be successful, at least for me, I think being different is important, especially, and that's a good thing because our profession is sort of broken. Well, there's a lot of professions that are broken, but I think dental absolutely is. And it's only getting worse. I mean, there are more and more corporate dental offices popping up. There are more people that don't want to own the business. They want to work in the business. So what does that tell you? Do you think that they care? I mean, do they want to, are they listening to this podcast? Are they reading these books? No, they just want to, like you said earlier, they want to pop in. They kind of want to clock in, do the work, fill all the holes, literally and figuratively, and then clock out.
Yep.
And that's fine if that's what they want to do. That's not gratifying for me. I mean, that's not winning for me.
Well, and I think there's a lot out there like you that are even being tempted to do that because they want something, but they can't push through this and get to the finish line. So they're like, just give up. Don't give up. Just push and learn these things. Listen to this. Let's have a community of let's talk about things, come together and recognize that there's only so many of us that can even be in the universe at this level. So why not be one of them? It's silly.
And get a coach. I mean, gosh, I love learning just everything, right? But I mean, whether it's going skiing, I mean, I'm not an exceptional skier by any means, but I got pretty good at it at one point. But I'd always take a lesson. I'd always go out and I'd always take a lesson.
Always.
I mean, yeah, I can get around the mountain fine. I mean, why do I need to take lessons? I mean, for me, there's a bunch of reasons, but
every time,
100%. So, I mean, you can't ever stop. There's always somebody that you can learn from. I mean, they might not even be as good a skier, as an example, as you are, but they're watching you. You don't get to see yourself, right? So when people can have that kind of third party view of what's going on, they can really help you. Golf swing, same thing, right? It's like, yeah, I'm doing the swing like you're telling me to. No, you're not. Well, watch yourself. You see yourself do it. You're like, oh crap, I'm not doing that. I'm swinging across my body, or whatever the example is. But I think finding a great coach, a mentor, is, well, shoot, if you just recorded yourself in the operatory and watched it back, if that's all you did, you learn a lot.
It will change your life watching yourself one time. When we started working together, we did that. It's like, it's unbelievable what you don't realize you're doing in there. It's crazy. Another thing that he said too is, just this little community that we have alone. I mean, if we all just got together and met like this once a week and coached each other through what we're trying to accomplish, that alone just gives you somewhat of a balance. Try to work with people that actually live out every day what it is that they're trying to get you to do. That to me is another thing that's difficult. But anyway, remember, create some shifts, people. Get to that finish line, push through, and I'll go one more time. 7 steps. Identify your negative paradigm. Create a new identity of statement with a positive outlook. Then create for it to be a belief. Put your mind at work. Believe it. Once you believe it, you will do it. So right next to that positive statement, write down all the negative statements that you guys said instead of it and show that we're now turning those statements into this one. Then you create the visual, 4th step. You visualize what you see, hear, and feel at the end of that belief. And you show and improve it by saying, we got this, we can do this, we have the ability to do it. Then you develop the faith by just focusing on the what. Put your heart to work, take it in action, trust the process. Don't get knee deep in the how and, oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And then get out of your comfort zone and push through. See you, folks.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.